Imagine a simple radio exchange between a driver and his engineer becoming the most talked about topic post-race. That's exactly what happened at the Chinese Grand Prix, and things heated up off the track. Ferrari was furious about how Formula One aired a segment of the radio conversation between Hamilton and his engineer, and according to the Italian team, the way the message was cut and shown completely changed the context of the situation. It all started when Charles Leclerc began closing in on Hamilton around lap 18. The broadcast only showed a snippet of the radio where the engineer asked Hamilton to let Leclerc pass, and the Brit seemed reluctant, responding that he'd only do it when his teammate was closer. This, of course, was enough for many to believe Hamilton was refusing team orders, feeding the rumors that the relationship with Ferrari was still far from being sorted out. But the real frustration came later, when Ferrari's Fred Vasseur, the team principal, blasted how Formula One had handled the radio communication. He said it was all done to dramatize the situation, making it look like an internal conflict between the driver and the team, when in fact, it was Hamilton himself who suggested letting Leclerc pass. However, that part was left out of the broadcast. Now the question remains, was this an oversight or was it intentional to manipulate the situation? Now that we understand why Ferrari was so upset, it's worth taking a closer look at what was actually said on the radio between Hamilton and his engineer. Contrary to what the broadcast made it seem, the conversation was much calmer and more mature than it appeared at first glance. On lap 18, Hamilton had already signaled that he wasn't able to keep up a strong pace, and the car was becoming difficult to drive. That's when he said over the radio, "I think I'll let Charles pass because I'm struggling too much." In other words, there was no disobedience or resistance. Hamilton was being transparent with the team, acknowledging his difficulties and pointing out that Leclerc had more pace. The engineer then responded that they would swap positions at the right moment without disrupting the flow of the race. But here came the detail that sparked the controversy. Hamilton just wanted his teammate to be a little closer before letting him through. Makes sense, right? It would avoid losing too much time and keep Ferrari's overall rhythm intact. This all happened naturally, with Hamilton letting Leclerc pass on lap 21. However, because the broadcast only showed a snippet of the conversation without context, viewers were led to believe there was a rift, and that's exactly what Ferrari was angry about. Cutting and pasting to create more drama in the race narrative. After the Chinese GP, Ferrari decided they weren't going to stay silent. Fred Vasseur took a direct shot at Formula One in the post-race press conference, calling the way the radio exchange was handled a live joke. And he wasn't joking around. According to Vasseur, showing just fragments of the conversation between Hamilton and the engineer was a way of manipulating the audience's perception, and this, he argued, should not become the norm. What really annoyed Ferrari was that the image portrayed to the public was of a rebellious Hamilton disobeying team orders, when, in reality, the opposite had happened. The driver recognized that Leclerc was faster and accepted to give up the position. He just asked to do it at the right time, without disturbing anyone. But the way they cut and aired the audio made it seem like something else. Vasseur even went as far as to say that he would approach the organizers of the series to prevent this kind of malicious editing from happening again. He emphasized that the team's intention was never to hide anything, but rather to ensure that fans had access to what was actually going on, without a fabricated script by the people running the broadcast. Because, in the end, viewers deserve the truth, not a more marketable version of the facts. What happened between Ferrari and the Formula One broadcast has sparked a discussion that goes beyond just a simple radio cut. We're talking about to what extent the pursuit of entertainment can harm a driver's image or even hurt an entire team. And in this case, that's exactly what Ferrari wanted to highlight. There's a huge difference between showing the behind-the-scenes action and creating a narrative that never actually happened. For those who have followed Formula One for a long time, this kind of creative editing of radios has caused discomfort before. Who doesn't remember other moments when isolated audio clips created unnecessary controversy? And when it involves a figure like Lewis Hamilton, who already carries massive pressure just by being with Ferrari, any misunderstanding gets blown out of proportion. Now, imagine the people watching at home without access to the full conversation. The impression left is that the driver is being stubborn or that the atmosphere within the team is tense. This affects the athlete's image, strains the relationship with the fans, and could even influence the pressures within the team itself. All because of a partial edit that only showed what suited the story. The truth is that no matter how much Formula One wants to deliver excitement, there are moments when the line of good sense must be respected, and this one of them. After the misunderstanding at the Chinese GP, the big question now is how this will affect the internal atmosphere at Ferrari in the upcoming races. Because it's not just about a cut radio or a poorly explained edit, it's about trust between the driver and the team, and most importantly, the narrative the media creates around it. Lewis Hamilton is in a period of transition. He's just joined a new team with high expectations and a fan base that demands a lot. Any little noise, no matter how small, becomes a massive issue. And when Formula One's own broadcast contributes to this noise, the situation gets even more complicated. Ferrari, for its part, knows it has to walk a fine line. The car has shown progress. Vassar's work is starting to bear fruit, and the team finally seemed to be turning a corner. But now, in addition to fighting for performance, they'll need to deal with external fallout and maintain team morale. If Hamilton feels he's being unfairly exposed, it could affect his trust in the project. And if the team feels used as a target for artificial storylines, it could create a rift with the organizers. The result? A toxic atmosphere where the focus shifts from performance to what's being said off the track. Everything now depends on how Ferrari reacts and how Formula One positions itself in response to this demand for transparency. The situation between Hamilton, Leclerc, and Ferrari at the Chinese GP is just the tip of the iceberg in a moment where every frame counts, every radio message becomes a headline, and every statement turns into news. The line between telling a story and manipulating a narrative must be respected, because in the end, the ones who suffer are not just the drivers, but the sport itself. When the public starts to doubt what they're seeing, the credibility of the championship comes into question. Ferrari's demand for an explanation is more than justified. It's necessary. It's not about protecting a driver or an image, but defending the integrity of the team's daily work. Formula One can and should be exciting, full of twists and incredible stories, but all of this needs to be based on what's actually happening on the track, not what's cut from behind the scenes. Now it's up to Formula One to rethink its methods and better balance what is entertainment and what is sport.